What if I told you could get a retro-inspired watch with 4 world times, a chronograph, a stopwatch, a countdown timer, 100 meters of water resistance, an LED night light, all for just $30? You might say I'm insane, right? Well, consider this. This is the Casio AE1200. The Casio WorldTime Illuminator AE1200 is also known as the Casio Royale.
Royale with cheese. Royale with cheese.
This watch, the Casio Royale or the Casio WorldTime, takes its design inspiration from a watch in the James Bond universe. In 1983, Roger Moore starred in Octopussy, an outlandishly named movie, of course, but it featured 2 watches, one of which was the Seiko G757, and this watch takes a lot of design cues directly from that watch. It's been speculated that the nickname, the Casio Royale, was taken from the James Bond universe, but there's a lot of dots for me to connect, going from Casio to Seiko to Octopussy to Casino Royale, which was a book written by Ian Fleming, and the official Bond movie didn't come out until 2006. So for me, it's more likely that the moniker came from this dial clock in the corner, which mirrors the digital output here. And it looks to me like a roulette wheel. So I think they were having a little bit of fun with the Casio name and called it the Casio Royale. All right, watch community, a little bit of an added bonus here. As I went back to edit my unboxing of the Casio Royale, I thought it was okay, pretty straightforward, but I definitely missed some opportunities to highlight the personality of this watch. If you were to dissect each component of this watch separately, you'd think that it's a bit of a mess, but altogether it just kind of works. You take one look at it and you can see it's just incredibly busy here. First off, this thing is a word salad. Just so many words on this thing. Let's start at the top. World time, 5 alarms, Casio, adjust, light, water resistant 100 meters, mode, search, 10-year battery, and illuminator. That's so many words. It's basically a walking billboard for its own product. Let's take a look at the case. The 4 buttons here sort of stick out like the neck bolts on Frankenstein's neck, right? If I think of a modern version of this in the way that the buttons stick out, I have to think of the Seiko speed timer, the SJF001, and the 3 variations. They stick out at an angle, and it sort of reminds me of this, the way it just kind of sticks out there. The face is a bit of a mess, isn't it? It's jam-packed. It's like the old saying goes, it's 10 pounds of poop in a 5-pound bag. There's just so much going on. This little bar across the top right tells you information about the alarm. It's small, so legibility would be difficult without some readers or a magnifying glass. The world map here is a nice touch, but in theory, it's a really tough read. It highlights the region of the world that the time is telling, but practically speaking, it's just about impossible to determine what region you're actually looking at. I know this watch is a throwback, but I wonder if Casio could figure out a way to magnify a slice of the map that ties into the time that's being shown. In the top left, you have the clock dial, right? And I think this is where the Royale, the Casio Royale name comes in. This is a nice touch, and it's synchronized to the digital time that's displayed. However, the hour and minute hands are very thin and quite faint. So it's actually pretty difficult to read, at a glance. I don't think anyone would prefer looking at this little dial compared to the relatively large digital display. And the digital display is exactly what you would expect from a digital watch. But when you combine all these components of the watch case, it all just works from an aesthetic perspective. Sometimes in the art world or in design, the combination of seemingly incongruous elements just feels right. And that's what you have with the Casio Royale. Coming up next, the real-time unboxing of the Casio WorldTime Illuminator. We've got another unboxing for you today, and I went out on the interwebs and did a search for list of affordable watches, and this watch came up quite a bit. I didn't look on YouTube to see if it was featured much, and much to my chagrin, once this watch came into the house, I noticed it in my YouTube feed with some other channels. Be that as it may, I am still going to unbox it for your enjoyment, hopefully for your enjoyment, but let's get to it. This is a Casio, as evidenced by the box. Simple plastic box, and I wouldn't expect much more given its minimal price tag. So we have, you can probably tell now, it's the Casio WorldTime. Take it out here. Pretty sizable manual stuffed into this little holder here. So I'm going to take it off its stand and take off the plastic so I can take a look at it. So there it is, a pretty handsome watch. Definitely, I would say that this is an 80s inspired. It has that square face, kind of retro styling, digital. It doesn't quite remind me of the original G-Shock that I had back when I was a kid, but it definitely looks like a sibling or a cousin of that watch. So I'm going to just kind of take off some of the plastic here, but I'm going to do some measurements for you on the video. Just the feel in my hand, very lightweight. This feels like plastic, the bracelet. It might be metal, but it is incredibly lightweight. If it is metal, it's definitely hollow. The case itself feels fairly decent. It's got kind of a resin bezel here. The case back, pretty standard stainless steel. So I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to do some of the measurements here. Got the caliper. So the case shape is, let's see, just about 39.7. Let's see if I get, yeah, that's about right. Let's see what the thickness is. 12.6. All right, let's see what the lug to lug is. Just trying to get the face of the caliper so that it's at the screen. It's catching just below the lug. About 45.8. Yeah, and the inside looks like the lug width is about 17.8. But like I said, the bracelet flares out there. So I'm not sure how many people would go out to buy a NATO to replace this, but looks like you'd be in the neighborhood of an 18mm NATO. All right, I was able to figure out how to change time zone 1 to New York. Let me see if I can figure out time zone 2 and how I can change that. So let's take a look. Oh, and there's LA. So it's giving me a 4-hour time difference to LAX, which is not correct. So I've got to figure that out. But let's see, maybe this is the exact time that I want, so I'm gonna lock that in. There it is. So we've got California time there. So you can keep doing that, cycle through the 4 time zones that it's got. All right, let's see if we can change the time on camera. Okay. Mode. All right, so it is 12 o'clock, but this is AM, so I'm gonna change to PM. All right, so I'm gonna hit that, and it is a little bit later than that. So it's 12:33 here, and this should do it. There it is. All right. Cycle through, set the time. We changed time zone 2 to Tokyo. So one thing that we didn't show is the light, so the illuminator. So I'm gonna try to do it as best I can. It's maybe not the handsome blue that you see in some of these G-Shock models. It's sort of got that old mustard illumination which is very retro and going back to the 1980s aesthetic that we had talked about. So here's what you should know about this watch. The bracelet, obviously very lightweight, very cheap feeling, jangly. Not sure how much luck you'll have replacing this. Seems like it's an 18 millimeter. If you wanted to go NATO, those can be hard to come by. But the watch is filled with some features. It's got the world time. You can check out 4 different world times, just cycle through them. Pretty easy to set once you get the handle of it. It's got alarm features, it's got a stopwatch, and for $30, or now at $32, you're hard pressed to find a watch with a whole lot more features than this little guy. So I'm gonna just put it on my wrist just for a little bit of comfort. I'll need to size it, but it's a 40, just under 40 millimeters case size, lightweight. This would be very much the definition of a beater in my collection. So let us know what you think about this watch. Is this something you would consider adding to your collection? If you like this review, consider giving us a like, subscribe to the channel, and we're happy to take in feedback and listen to our subscribers tell us what they want to hear about, what they want to learn about. So once again, this watch seems to be on the rise. A few YouTube channels are featuring it. Several men's styling magazines are kind of featuring this as an affordable watch. So hope you enjoyed the review, and we'll catch you in the next one.